Radium is something we now know as incredibly toxic and quite deadly, causing numerous health issues and creating horrible conditions for anyone exposed to the element. This was the case in 1922, yet through industrial indifference, one of the worst cases of radium exposure to ever exist came to fruition. Welcome to the channel Phantom Era, where we talk about everything from the weird and wacky to the educational and downright preposterous. Our story begins with something known as the Radium Corporation. A pretty lousy name if you ask me, but at least it's straightforward and to the point. From 1917 to 1926, the Radium Corporation, originally named the Radium Luminous Material Corporation, was responsible for locating carnotite, extracting its radium, purifying it, and adding it to paints. The addition of radium created paints that glowed in the dark, earning them the brand name Undark. Again, a pretty lousy name, but this was 1920. The main proprietors of Undark paint were watch manufacturers who used it to paint watch faces. Because these watches could glow in the dark, they were bought in large amounts by the military and distributed to soldiers. In theory, the practice was perfect, but in reality, it was a horrendous industry. A plant in Orange, New Jersey employed up to 700 workers, most of them women, who painted watch faces with Undark paint. All of the workers were led to believe that the use of radium in paint was completely safe. This was an outright lie, a lie designed to get cheap labor and mass production. In fact, radium was known to be dangerous due to an experiment performed by the U.S. Radium Corporation. The experiment began with 70 women performing various tasks associated with the use of radium. These women were completely unprotected from the use of radium, while supervising scientists of the Radium Corporation used lead tongs, screens, and masks to avoid exposure. At this point, the USRC had also published medical literature explaining the dangerous and injurious effects of radium. Yet they openly and wholeheartedly lied to their workers and the public, claiming that radium had no side effects. However, even the USRC wasn't safe from their own ignorance, as a chief chemist, Dr. Edwin E. Lehman, died due to exposure, including other female workers within the industry. Because of the string of deaths and their similarities, an investigation was launched by Dr. Harrison Martin, the county physician of Newark. Regardless of the investigation and any suspicion surrounding the Radium Corporation, a total of 4,000 workers were hired across numerous plants to paint watch and clock faces. The workers were tasked with mixing their own paint in a small crucible before using camel-haired brushes to begin their painting tasks. As you may have guessed, all 4,000 workers faced the dangers of radium, unaware of the deadly element they happily ground into green paint for only 8 cents per dial painted. And as horrible as it is that one company could get away with abusing people to this degree, Radium Corporation wasn't the only one. The Radium Dial Company was another capitalistic predator lurking in the shadows ready to prey on unsuspecting workers. Established in Ottawa, Illinois, the company was formed in the vacant but local high school in 1922. Like Radium Corporation, Radium Dial painted clock faces with toxic paint. However, their client wasn't the military and instead West Clocks. West Clocks produced Big Ben, Baby Ben, and travel clocks. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure what constitutes a travel clock, but I'm going to assume that as long as it's portable, it technically counts. Just like Radium Corporation, Radium Dial employed mostly young women who used the lip dip paint method. In fact, another plant unaffiliated with Radium Corporation, or Radium Dial, existed in Waterbury, Connecticut, and supplied clocks to the Waterbury Clock Company. They too employed the same capitalistic methods. As if 3 companies wasn't enough, Radium Dial ended up terminating their president, Joseph Kelly, who pettily created his own company to directly compete with Radium Dial. His company was named Luminous Process Company. Like the others, he used the same abusive practices. Now you may be asking yourselves, if this video is named Radium City, at what point do any of these cities start to see side effects for their exposure to radium? Well, between 1926 to 1927, workers at Radium Dial began to show effects of radium poisoning. At this time, a series of trials had gotten underway in New Jersey unbeknownst to the Illinois workers. At some point, news of the New Jersey trials made their way down to Illinois, causing a stir with the Radium Dial workers. Instead of fessing up to the toxicity of radium, Radium Dial told their employees that the women had just caught some type of viral infection and that they had nothing to be worried about. Assured by their employers, Radium Dial workers went back to work, unaware of the dangers at hand. As for New Jersey, radium poisoning was first noticed by dentists, whose clients were workers of Radium Corporation. Reports indicate that dental pain, loose teeth, development of lesions, and ulcers, along with the failure of tooth extraction sites to close or heal, were common in dial painters. Women who worked for Radium Corporation also began to develop severe anemia, bone density issues, and necrosis of the jaw. The condition of radium jaw was an extreme case of jaw necrosis, wherein the mouth would bleed frequently, develop tumors, grow distorted, and become weak in the bones. Essentially, your jaw would disintegrate. And once the effects of radium jaw set in, there was no cure. In fact, regardless of radium jaw, you can't reverse the effects of radium poisoning once it's taken root. In severe cases of radium poisoning, people developed bone cancer in their jaws. On top of this, many women who worked for Radium Corporation began to experience sterility, where they couldn't get pregnant due to the radium poisoning they experienced. They also experienced menstrual suppression, meaning they no longer had a period. In many instances, periods can be controlled or stopped with birth control in today's day and age. However, when a woman's period is stopped by other non hormonal or medically induced circumstances, it becomes dangerous for their health. As you can see, female and even male workers were in for a world of hurt while working for any radium using companies. Yet their injuries were ignored by many industries because no one had died yet. It wasn't until 1923 that the first dial painter died. The story goes that she died when her jaw fell away from her face. By 1928, 50 women had become ill from radium poisoning and 12 had died. And these are just the cases we know about. The numbers could very well be much higher. However, in an ironic twist of fate, the inventor of radium paint, Dr. Sabine Arnold von Schocke, died in November of 1928 due to radium poisoning, making him the 16th official victim. His death was a key factor in aiding the lawsuits against radium companies. The Radium girls who spearheaded the lawsuit consisted of 5 women greatly affected by Radium Corporation's deception: Grace Fryer, Edna Husman, Catherine Schaub, and sisters Quinta MacDonald and Albina Larice. Because of the sensation surrounding the lawsuit, the Radium girls were responsible for legal precedents that established regulations for labor workers and even created new safety standards. Now, you may be wondering how factory workers experienced radium poisoning in their jaws or places other than their hands. Well, due to being told that radium was harmless, factory workers often painted their nails, lips, eyelids, teeth, and more for fun with radium paint on top of licking their paintbrushes. I mean, you're in a factory all day, and you get bored. You have paint. I don't blame them for getting a little carried away and messing around and painting body parts thinking that it was completely and totally safe. And that's exactly what happened. Additionally, radium based products permeated normal society with medications, cosmetics, and even beverages containing the dangerous metal. It's a wonder more people didn't die from radium poisoning. In fact, the average dial painter ingested 4,000 micrograms of radium, which is thousands of times more than the smallest lethal dose. This was only due to their job. There's no telling how much more radium exposure they experienced outside of work due to common items infected with radium. One such item was Radithor, a drink that sold 40,000 bottles before it was discontinued. If you thought indirect ingestion from licking a paintbrush was bad, those who drank Radithor were directly ingesting radium without any sort of barrier like the lips. Ironically, Radithor claimed to be the elixir of life, and while other quack remedies existed in the medical and even commercial world, Radithor was particularly lethal in comparison due to its radium salts. These were concentrated versions of radium-based minerals, not diluted by other means as some products were. One particular man who succumbed to Radithor was Eben M. Byers, who drank Radithor due to a doctor's prescription. He'd suffered a severe fall, and initially, drinking the beverage had invigorating effects. Because of this, he doubled his dosage from a 1-ounce bottle to a 2.2-ounce bottle. Eventually, he suffered severe side effects such as skin lesions and bone decay. It didn't take long before Byers died of direct radiation. Upon his death, it was revealed that Byers had the largest amount of radiation to ever be found in a single human being. Statistically, Byers possessed more than 30 micrograms, which was enough to kill 3 grown men. Because of the radiation in his body, Byers was buried in a lead coffin to negate additional radiation radiating from his corpse. It seemed like radium would continue to grip America in a chokehold regardless of the deaths, health effects, deformities, and horrors surrounding radium. It wasn't until World War II that radium began to be weeded out of society and commercial consumption. It feels weird to say that while atomic bombs were being built, we were saved from radium because of it, yet it's true. Unfortunately, others weren't so lucky, but that is a story for another time. If you like this video, I ask you to please consider subscribing, leave a like or a comment. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate it. I know this video was a little bit shorter than some of my other ones, but it is what I could get done for this week. I appreciate everybody who subscribed from my Jerusalem Syndrome video. Thank you so much. Welcome to the community. It is a blast to have you around. Stay tuned for next week's video, and make sure when you subscribe you hit the bell icon to get notified. Stay safe out there, take care of each other, and I will see all of you guys in the next video.